She laughed at me. Shame?
Numb.
Humiliation.
I didn't tell anyone for 6 years.
Guilty.
Denial.
Helpless. And I got a call from the detective. He was like, so were you raped, or did he just kind of like beat you up during sex?
Nowadays, I find it pretty easy to talk about my assault. I don't know if that's because I've processed it so well, or I just really haven't processed it very well at all, and I just like can't feel those emotions. Two dudes grabbed me by the shoulders, held me in place against a countertop, while she, the older woman, proceeded to just peel off my clothing and touch me wherever she felt like it. She groped me, she laughed at me.
He grabbed me, he groped me, he grabbed my crotch multiple times. I wasn't sure what was happening, and he looked at me and he said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Something doesn't feel right." And he goes, "Nothing's happening, nothing's wrong."
Things kept getting rougher and rougher. He grabbed me really forcefully by the throat, and I couldn't breathe. He hit me really hard across the face, and he was just like huge and muscly and holding me down. I just felt like moisture coming down my face, and I was like, oh, you're crying.
There's so many people who are survivors of some sort of rape or sexual assault. So what we do is tend to shut down survivor stories.
Hearing people's responses to it made me feel like I couldn't trust my own intuition.
The most damaging thing I heard was, by talking about it, you're giving him more power.
He told me, "I'm sorry you felt you were raped." I felt not heard. I felt assaulted again.
A culture that we learn to treat people like things, and you don't treat people like things.
When I told my best friend and she was silent, that was still a very clear, loud response that I was making her uncomfortable and I should stop talking.
Sexual violence is prevalent at a massive level in this country. We tend to not believe people because sometimes it's too much, and then other times because people have a vested interest in not talking about rape and not talking about sexual violence. What ends up happening is incredible damage to people, their sense of self, their sense of trust in others. I want people, all genders, always talking about consent, not taking it for granted that somebody wants to do something because you hope that they want to do something. Reaching for empathy, the sense of I'm worthwhile, I'm valuable, and so I should negotiate on my behalf, and people respecting that you get to choose, even if that disappoints me, even if I don't like it, but that you still respect somebody's sovereignty. Sexuality can be edgy and it can be exciting and it can have an intensity to it, but that's not rape and that's not violence. Those are other things that are not negotiated, that are not consensual. I want people to find pleasure in their daily lives with one another and with themselves. I believe pleasure and connection are the antidote to trauma and rape culture.
Oh, we are stronger together. We love you.
Fuck the noise.
Dickhead animals.
Don't let this silence you.
I feel held, even though I've never met these people.
We believe you.
Speak on it. Oh, it does not define you.
Be gentle with yourself.
This makes me feel like there are people to listen, even if you don't know if they're right there.
Being a male survivor, I very rarely am permitted to talk about it without feeling like I'm going to make somebody uncomfortable.
I think for me, it kind of makes me think about the power of empathy. There's such fear around vulnerability. You know, I think like, what's the worst that could happen if you tell a friend that you know who's a survivor, like, hey, just checking in, are you okay? Just want you to know that I support you. Even if you do have a friend who's like really strong, like check in on them, you know?
Check in, especially if you're strong, because I feel like sometimes the strong person gets like overlooked.
It never hurts to let someone know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. Yeah, it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to say no. It's okay to take up space.
Fuck the noise. Yes.